So we're going to be talking now about a subject that I've been covering for years, and I've always been really interested in autonomous vehicles, although what does autonomous mean, as we've been discussing now. I covered it recently on the TV and managed to dig out an old Tomorrow's World with Michael Rodd, who was sitting in a car which basically had a sort of, literally a piece of metal attached to the steering wheel and a piece of metal attached to the gearbox, and it was moving it around like a mini robot. It does feel like we've come a long way since then, but there is still a feeling that autonomous vehicles are in the future. We're still not quite there yet. You may know Meridian's been set up very recently, Meridian Mobility, to sort of take the progress on, and they're represented here by Andy. And Daniel, the boss, is away with Greg Clark, isn't he, in Japan or something, or some sort of trip. So he sends his apologies, but Andy's very kindly stepped in, as has Jim from Ordnance Survey as well, who's another sub we've brought in, but a fine player he is. So we're all going to talk they're going to talk for 4 or 5 minutes, and then we're going to have a roundtable discussion afterwards. We're using Slido today. So if you could go onto the app, Slido app, or the website, and the hashtag is up there, the HWYSUK, and then you can either post a question or you can like a question, and if several people like a question, it goes up to the top of the list, and we get to see it here, so I can bring in your questions here, and we might have some microphones roving around as well, but we can come to all of that. But first of all, please welcome our panel. So I'll go through them. So we've got Andy Pascoe from Meridian Mobility, Chris Reeves from Myra, Rob Wallace from TRL, Professor Paul Jennings from Warwick Manufacturing Group, University of Warwick, Peter Stoker from Millbrook, and Jim O'Reilly from Ordnance Survey. Please give them a hand.
So I'm Andy Pascoe, as Richard said. My boss, Daniel Roeth, the CEO of Meridian's out in Japan now with Greg Clark, the Secretary of State for Business, pushing our agenda. And that agenda, if I can describe it in 3 minutes. So Meridian was set up as a result for a call for evidence between industry and government about 3 years ago. This was where the identification of market failures for the progress in connected autonomous vehicles suggested that you needed a coordinating body. You needed not only that, but you needed some infrastructure money. So we needed quite a lot of pump priming money from government to help some of the risks and to stimulate some of the collaborative work that was required to put the UK in the right position internationally. But you also needed some coordination, some intervention coordination. Who's doing what, where, and who should work with who? What should the next funding round look like? And how we should work together in the future, and how should we represent ourselves on the international stage. And that's what Meridian was set up for. It's not a project, it's a business. Meridian Mobility Limited, there's about 14 of us in total, so we're a thin layer business. And we also then offer the coordination and guidance towards the Testbed UK, for which you'll see some members here on the panel who are going to describe to you what they do. And here I've left something for the discussion piece later on the slide here. What did the Romans ever do for us? And looking around, most people should remember the script from Monty Python. And the reason for that was roads stuck to most people, especially in this room. I'm sure roads was the one that people remember, and don't say aqueducts. 2,000 years of roads, and we still have a significant overlay on the map. So Highways England, if they showed you their strategic road network position, it will be largely on the positions that they were 2,000 years ago. And this is to stimulate the discussion of there is probably nothing that we want to build today that lasts for 2,000 more years. If we believe that's the right answer, then maybe there's an issue. Talking with some of the panel members and some of the companies here today, if you're designing beyond the 5-year life cycle at the moment for a product or technology, then again, that's a risky position to be in potentially at this transition stage for the future of the revolution of future mobility. So that's me, that's us, and I hope that stimulates some conversation later on. How far should we be investing in new infrastructure technology for the future of mobility?